everyone's looking for the young guy. They're looking for McVay. I think take a shot out Todd Bowles, get him a second shot at head coach, and see if he can do it.
I don't think they will. If they don't have Anthony Davis, I'm saying it right now. If Anthony Davis is out for the playoffs, they don't make it out of the first round.
It's crazy. And our kids will know how great Tom Brady is because he's going to be playing.
Yes, it is 15.0%.
That's what the Yankees brought Garrett Cole to do.
He was a 6th-round pick. This is a fairy tale story that's being written in front of our eyes.
People like to call them their JV team, and they just stole one of their better players.
They didn't struggle against the Padres. The Padres didn't really put up a fight in most of the games.
Jerry Jones, hope you're listening.
Hi, I'm Landon Bowe, and you're listening to Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NFL Opinions of the Week. Today we're going to be talking about Niners controversy. Or Niners news, not really controversy. But the man that makes the makes the tough decisions, Austin.
Yeah, this was shocking. I do have a theory. You have a theory. Who do you want to go first?
I'll let you go first. I'll say mine for the end because it's way out of there, and it's not even for this season.
Oh, okay. Yeah, mine is for this season. My theory is that teams offer more trades. If you had him as the second string, because of all the injuries that have happened with Niners QBs and the fact that Brock Purdy hasn't had a full season as a starter, I think most teams would be reluctant to offer trades because they could just see him as, okay, they still believe in him. He will be the guy. Because Brock Purdy was always going to be the starter no matter what this next season because of the crazy stretch of games and the fact he got him to the NFC Championship game and all that stuff. So my theory is that they moved Sam Darnold to the second string and Trey Lance to the third so that teams, they're trading him. Or that they're willing to trade in him. Either they don't believe in him or they think that they could get a better package than what he's worth. So I think that's what their plan is.
Okay. I sort of see that, but to me, that's still admitting from the front office, it seems like they made a mistake at the number 3 overall pick.
True, but you got to bite the bullet. The team is so good that you have to get something out of it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a great point. And we'll just have to see if it works out, if Brock Purdy lives up to what he did. I talked about that I talked about Sam Darnold in the storylines video. I wasn't sure if it was real hype, but it looks like it was real. And it's crazy because even if you look at Sam Darnold, he really struggled. He did have that year where we talked about the Carolina Panthers starting hot, but I could definitely see him coming in because we don't know about Brock Purdy's injury.
Yeah, and the thing about Sam Darnold is he has a lot more experience than Trey Lance does. And I do think that goes in partially to it. Because if you think about it, the effect that a veteran has over the presence or confidence of your team is definitely a lot. Sam Darnold's actually been a starter for a full season while Trey Lance has not. And neither has Brock Purdy, but Brock Purdy had much more success last season than Sam Darnold's had in his entire career.
Yeah, I agree. And there's some familiarity with Brock Purdy. And I also think this is probably one of the easier offenses to do because I think you have a top offensive mind in Kyle Shanahan.
And besides that, you have basically 3 running threats. Debo probably being the third, sort of. But also you have Christian McCaffrey, who's obviously a top 3 running back in the league. And then you also have Elijah Mitchell, who's extremely, extremely talented and will be very, very productive in the small amount of snaps that he gets.
Yeah, and they also, you mentioned Debo, he's a great pass-catching threat. So is George Kittle and Brandon Ayuk as well. It's really an easy offense to step into, and I don't think you have to make too many difficult decisions.
True, there isn't any... I mean, there is sometimes in those big games where you go back to the Super Bowl that the 49ers should have won against the Patrick Mahomes-led Chiefs. You got to hit the wide-open go route. You got to hit it. I mean, I guess to your point, that's not a tough decision, but you still got to make the pass, and you have to complete it because if that's completed, you win the Super Bowl, and if it's not, you lose. So there will be those big moments, and there always is for a team going for a title. You can't win without one big moment from your QB in this modern era of QB play. I'd say since 2010. I don't think there's been a QB that's won without that big moment in the Super Bowl or on the track to the Super Bowl. I still remember Joe Flacco's big game against the Broncos at overtime Hail Mary, basically, or was it really a Hail Mary? Is a go route to Jacoby Jones. Uh, there's going to be that moment, and can Brock Purdy, Sam Darnold, or if they somehow keep Trey Lance make that throw? I do think it's a big part of how far this team ends up going.
Yeah, that's a great point you make, and I totally agree with it. I think in the regular season it doesn't matter as much, but that's where, because they've done well in the regular season when their defense is healthy with the 49ers, but it comes to their defensive moments. The past few years, they just don't have that guy, and I think they were hoping with Trey Lance. And I don't know how you feel about Brock Purdy. I don't know. I don't feel like Purdy is one of those top tier guys or a guy I trust in the playoffs. We'll have to see. He could totally prove me wrong.
Yeah, that's something that needs to be proven, and I understand your reluctance to give him that title just yet. But I mean, a lot of people thought that about many players that weren't supposed to be starters that ended up becoming starters. So
Yeah.
you have to earn that. And I think even as a rookie QB or a young QB, you have to earn that even if you're a high level pick. Even if uh, Kenny Pickett, who I do think is growing and progressing very well, if he makes the playoffs, I don't know if I trust him to make those moves. But eventually you will reach that level if you're talented enough.
Yes, and I think with the high pick, you trust them more, and but you have also invested a lot. It's weird how the Niners found their future quarterback because it's only 2 or 3 years ago, and they drafted Trey Lance, but they found their quarterback in Brock Purdy, which was just a surprising turn of events that whole last season, and he did well. Um, we'd have to see, and I do think you have those questions. I think, get a little more free chances as a top tier guy, like Josh Allen. We're starting to get to that point. Um, but yeah,
But
with
Josh Allen
Purdy,
has a lot more talent than Purdy or any of those other guys.
yes,
But I agree that he has to prove something soon. Like, we need to see that progression. He's really stalled these last 3 years, I would say.
yeah, ever really since that AFC divisional game. I felt he was on fire then, but I haven't really seen him on fire.
Well, the game
Past
that
that.
really made me concerned first about Josh Allen was I'm sure you remember this game. Do you remember the game against the Ravens in the playoffs?
Oh, was that? That's before the divisional. They played the Ravens.
That was that was uh that was they won that game. It was in 2020. They beat the Ravens, but their offense was so bad that game.
Yeah,
They won 17-3, and one of their touchdowns was a 3-yard pass from Allen, and the other touchdown was an interception return. Allen had one touchdown the entire game. It was very, 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 very scrappy. It was Josh Allen only threw for 206 yards, and you know him as a rushing QB. Guess how many rushing yards he had?
probably only at like 20. I'm gonna go 25.
3.
3. Wow.
So he had 3 rushing yards on 7 attempts and only 206 passing yards. They did end up winning that game, but that was the first game where I'm like, wow, the defense really bailed them out. And then they go into that conference championship game against the Chiefs and get beat by 14, and they were really never close.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you do bring up a good point. Allen has more talent. Purdy, to me, doesn't have talent, which is also contributes against him. Trey Lance, though, I don't know where the talent. He seemed talented, and the hype around him seemed to work. But he also came from North Dakota State, and those two quarterbacks recently have not worked out.
That's true, but Carson Wentz before injury really was an MVP candidate, so I want to give a little bit of love to Carson Wentz there. And to say that, I know what you mean by saying that Brock Purdy, the talent could be there. It's talent you have to learn, and a lot of being QB is mental. And if you can learn the scope of the game, you don't have to have all the talent in the world. But he does have a lot to learn still.
Yeah, I do feel though he could excel here because it's a very desirable situation because you have the defense set, you have everything else around you set. The offensive line seems to be good, even though they lost a tackle to the Broncos this offseason, but it's relatively an easy place to go.
That's true.
And then, so we'll have to see. I do think we see some Sam Darnold action in this year. I'm not sure what you think.
I doubt it unless they're up by a lot of points, they're down by a lot of points. I don't think we'll see him start a game if that's what you're referring to.
Or yeah, I don't know if we'll see him. I think I'm just not confident, but we'll have to see if Purdy plays all the games. I just don't. There's a feeling in me that he doesn't.
Do you think
doesn't
Sam
play
Darnold
one
starts a
game.
game this year?
I'm gonna say maybe, yeah, maybe at the end of the season. Yeah.
Say, pick a yes or a no.
I'm gonna go yes.
Okay, I'll go no. We'll reconvene to this video
Okay.
at the end of the season to see who is correct.
Yes, we'll see. And then Trey Lance. I'm wondering if it's just, hey, we're gonna trade him, but they actually keep him. I just don't know where he goes. I'm trying to think of a spot.
I would say you got to think of a team that is. Well, here's something interesting. Brock Purdy struggles this year. Do you trade for Kyler?
All right. I feel this now enters my conspiracy theory, which I have problems. So I love the person. It's Kirk Cousins. What happens if Kirk Cousins goes to the Niners?
Kirk, I think that's a Super Bowl contending team.
I know. I feel the same way.
Because Kirk,
Weird.
I know fantasy doesn't mean everything, but the last 3 years, Kirk Cousins has been the 12th best fantasy quarterback. All 3 years. 12th.
Okay.
He's so consistent. He's on that top 10 echelon of players. I obviously have him top 10. You do not. But he's right there. I could see it. The problem is the Vikings are good. So the Vikings would have to struggle. You would have to see the 13-4 Vikings go from 13-4 to out of the playoffs for me to see that as a possibility.
But he's on a 1-year deal. Like, this is year.
I know, but you don't always who replaces you can't waste years of Justin Jefferson's prime. I don't
enter. This is part of my big conspiracy theory, which I'm very proud of. Aaron Rodgers.
But that again would have to take a lot, I think, for him to leave the Jets after commanding that he go there.
Okay, I'm not buying him with the Jets, but we'll see. But I could see Kirk going to the Niners because I think it's a very easy offense, and he'd probably because I feel he's more talented than Jimmy G.
Easily.
So that would make them Super Bowl contenders because they were Super Bowl contenders with Jimmy G. So I would love to see it. And I think I could see him taking a pay cut because he's one of the wealthiest guys. He's got like he's earned the most money just because of those franchise tags and fully guaranteed contracts.
Oh, and the fact that he's consistently above average as a QB. And to be consistently above average is worth the heavy price tag. He's never hurt.
But I think he could go lower though if he
I could see
because he has familiarity with Kyle Shanahan.
That's true.
So that's my big conspiracy theory, but I wanted to bring that up just because if Purdy struggles, Kirk Cousins is on the market.
This web that has come from Aaron Rodgers playing for the Jets and the Vikings has really grown far and wide.
I don't feel like Kirk Cousins is going to be the quarterback next year for the Vikings.
Even though he's been so consistent and they have – I mean, here's something that could happen. They could trade for Jonathan Taylor. And at that point, I think they have the second best offense in the league. Only behind the Eagles.
I don't trust their offensive line.
I don't, but Jonathan Taylor is Jonathan Taylor. And they have two good tackles. Their tackles are good. Their inside O-line is horrible. Their inside we need to completely reconvene that. But I do like their tackles. So I think from defensive ends, they should be safe. It's those interior guys like Aaron Donald that I do think could cause a lot of problems. Fletcher Cox, as they play against the Eagles, could cause a lot of problems. But Jonathan Taylor can be an outside runner, and I would be very, very intrigued if that's the trade that happens.
Yeah, that's something we'll have to see. But yeah, so that's my big conspiracy theory. I think I'm buying into it. But yeah, that could happen. But I don't like do the Bucks trade for Trey Lance. That doesn't fit to me.
I think there's a better chance that Kyler gets traded to the Bucks than Trey
Okay.
Lance. The Bucks still have a lot of pieces there, but I think we could make a trade prediction video soon because there's a lot of options there for guys. Josh Jacobs, Jonathan Taylor, Trey Lance, Kyler. There's like 4 or 5 guys there that I'm like, I don't know where they end up next season or this season for that matter.
That's good. That's a good choice. Yeah. So you think? Okay, so I think Sam Darnold plays at least starts
1 game.
But yeah, and I share my conspiracy theory. We'll see. We'll revisit definitely in a year on all those predictions. Any final thoughts, Austin?
Nope.
That's all we got. Thank you for listening to Outsiders Opinions.